All right, welcome everybody. This is going to be the podcast number 77. And I really love when we have an opportunity to go out and meet with people we work with. And so this is a special treat to go to Michigan, Garrison Dental, meet with Rich, who is the head of the North America sales. And we've had a story, we have a history of trying to work together. And then this year, I think, is when we really put our heads together on how to make this thing work, because we both love what we do. And we're trying to help practices to get the best products and work with companies like yours that manufacture products that control the whole thing end to end. And when you offered to come visit the manufacturer, we were all in. It's like I'm a kid, like a kid in a candy bar, right? So when you get a chance to see it. So if you don't mind, if you can introduce yourself and a little bit about the company and when did you join, how big Garrison was, and maybe a little bit how Garrison started.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming to Michigan. I know it was a little travel for you and that, but you arrived at a really good time of year. It's the weather's really nice in that right now, so but welcome. So I am the Director of Sales for North America, and I've been with Garrison 17 years now. This month it will be 17 years, and the company is 27 years old, so they were 10 years into when I joined Garrison and that. So I filled a role as initially as a sales manager, and my role was really to kind of start the sales group for Garrison for North America. So that's kind of when I joined. So it was myself and two customer service reps that kind of kicked off the inside sales department for Garrison Dental Solutions. So.
Yeah, and then I think you mentioned that before that you were managing call centers for the bank.
Yes.
And
yes.
Then, yeah.
Yeah, so my background was in the banking and mortgage industry, so managed large call centers across the United States for anything from credit card processing to mortgages to anything that a bank would use a call center for. So.
Yeah. I always like to ask this question. What was your impression when you were interviewed for this position? Because it's dental, right? And you're making little widgets, and all you think about is really?
Yeah,
can you walk us through?
It was definitely a shock. I worked for some pretty large banks across the U.S. and come into Garrison. I joined Garrison when the banking industry was kind of taking a major decline, the housing market crash and all of the kind of the crazy stuff that was happening. I got a little bit just before that, but I kind of seen the writing on the wall. So I took a major chance. My goal was to get into medical. I had a friend that was a recruiter, and he pointed me in the direction of this position, and I just I don't know about it, but just medical and that, and so it took a chance. Very small company back then, but had the aspirations of growing, and a very family-oriented business. Which I liked, especially coming from the corporate world out there where you really didn't know the owners and stuff like that. So it was cool to get that kind of atmosphere.
That's amazing. And so since then you guys grew, and as Jill and I were pulling up this morning, we're like, there's a dental office right next to it, and I'm like, I bet it's not by accident. And so yeah.
No, that dental office was kind of the start. The basement was the start of Garrison Dental Solutions. So the dental practice was Dr. Edgar Garrison's dental practice, his son then took over the practice when Edgar retired. So John was practicing upstairs when Garrison Dental started in the basement of that company, and probably I'd say 8 years after. They built the building that we're in today.
Yeah, and then the actual manufacturing facility, which we toured today, was a couple miles away from here.
Yep, a couple miles down the road. Originally we were outsourcing a lot of our manufacturing, and today a majority of it's done right at our manufacturing facility there.
Yeah. So, Rich, your primary thing is to sell the product, right?
Yep.
And I believe for any salesperson to sell the product, you need to believe in the product. Right, so it starts there, and it actually ends there. You either believe or you don't.
Absolutely.
And then knowing that you manufacture your own stuff, does it give you more confidence to sell?
It does, and you know, it's funny, when I first joined Garrison, my first or second day on the job, I went to a trade show, and I was just kind of sitting back observing and getting the spiel down and that, and you know, when you had customers running to the booth, and you know, a lot of the times it was, you know, what do you got new, and you know, because you know, they almost had their pocketbook out and that, and I just think a lot of it has to do with the, you know, the Garrison, the innovation of our product lines. You know, we got a really strong customer base, brand loyal customer base, and that. So it, believe it or not, it makes it very easy to sell the product line.
Right. Yeah, it's incredible. And then, what is your sales process? I'm just curious. Like, do you explain how the product works, or most of the time people already know how it works and it's just the details?
Back in the day, you know, when I first joined Garrison, you know, a lot of our users were Toffelmeyer users. So an older way of you know, I'm just talking our main product line, the sectional matrix system, but you know, a lot of them were Toffelmeyer users, and you know, so yeah, you had to explain, you know, the better result that they were going to get from using a sectional matrix system, and you know, things like that. So it was a little bit longer or a little bit more technical sales process. Today, people understand what a sectional matrix system is. I would say probably, you know, 70% of you know, that practices are using a sectional matrix system for a majority of the restorations and that. So it isn't as technical. You just got to explain why yours is better than, you know, the competitor. And then, you know, you still do have a little bit of the Toffelmeyer users out there, so you gotta, you know, explain that. But yeah, it's not as technical as it used to be.
Right, right. And I'm curious, what do you think has changed in dentistry since you joined? Like, when you look back at your career now with Garrison Dental, and how do you look at dentistry?
I think the big thing that's changed, that's pretty eye-opening, is, you know, when I joined, it was the solo practice out there. You know, the Garrisons are a great example of that. You had, you know, Edgar's father, then Edgar, then John, you know, so you had 3 generations of dentists, and that's, you know, what a lot of it was back then. You know, it was, you know, handing it down to one of your children or multiple, you know, children. And today it's just, I think it's gone more to the corporate end of things. You don't get as many of these solo practitioners that are passing it on to their next generation and that. So, you know, DSOs are a big thing now versus, you know, back when I joined Garrison, it was Heartland. Heartland Dental was
Correct.
really the only DSO out there. So.
Correct. Yeah, it's interesting. We also look at it from a perspective, what's best for the industry, but I think both have a place, and both will continue to thrive in the private and in the DSO. What do you think, from just your perspective, when you talk to customers, what do you think makes private practice a strong, like, practice, a strong, that gives them a strong position?
You know, I think probably like any business, it's you know, the community and the followers that they have really kind of generated in their community, and that you know, you look at right here in Spring Lake, Michigan. I mean, I think everybody knew Edgar and John Garrison, and it was, you know, what they did in the community out there and that. So you know, it's been you know, you know, kind of a blessing in disguise, but it's you know, just the way business should be.
Mm-hmm. And when you say community, can you share a little bit about the management style of the Garrison family? Like, what makes it a family place?
You know, you almost feel like a family member here at Garrison. So, and that's been from day one till today. Now, you know, Tom Garrison was, you know, pretty much managing Garrison along with Rob Anderson. They were the managing partners when I joined Garrison. You know, I view them as friends today. Now they've kind of stepped out of the day-to-day, and we now have a new CEO that's managing the day-to-day of the business. But you know, we see them frequently. They join us for company parties. They join us for community events that we do in the community and that. So. You know, very you know, involved in the local community here.
Yeah, that's amazing. How often do they go to the factory?
Tom and Rob?
Yeah.
Probably every other week.
That's
you know,
amazing.
Just to check on things, or see what's going on, and
Yeah.
or they come here. I probably see one of them, every week.
Yeah.
So.
And in the, being in a smaller town, like, I mean, we flew to Grand Rapids, it's a pretty big town, but then I think once we start getting to here where Garrison is located, it's a little bit smaller community, and pretty much most people know you. So it's probably one of my thoughts when I think about building a business in a smaller community is, do you like have one shot at hiring people, right? So if somebody says don't go there, and it's not a good place to work at, then you pretty much screwed, right? So like you really need to have it right.
Absolutely. Culture is a big thing. Obviously everything that I've just talked about and that, and I think people generally see that when they come in, for a interview or a job. It's the culture here in the family, atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then as you continue to grow, what positions do you think are going to be necessary to fill in, like in the next 2 to 3 years for you guys?
Yeah, I think, a lot of it's probably going to change, just with the direction of where dental's going and that. I mean, just look at today from when I started. I mean, a very small percentage of our business was generated online versus today, our online business is growing, probably at the largest channel. And then you have, places like, Zen, where, e-procurement is coming on. So, people will like to do things online. I think it obviously started with the whole Amazon,
Right.
And that. So, yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest changes that I see, so yeah, and then, with, I think COVID had a lot to do with it.
Right.
You look at even the dealer reps out there today, their frequency of going into dental practices has gone way down versus, that was what they did all day is going into dental practices. So it's changed. I think it's going to continue to change, and that. So yeah, a lot more online type, processes in that.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. When you said that, I also think there was a huge acceleration of procurement and online marketplaces during COVID, and especially after COVID. So it's challenging. It's not even a question. Maybe it's just a thought that, like, being able to identify who you want to align yourself with is a big question, because I feel like everybody's trying to find an angle, and everybody's trying to find how to go to the dental practice and how to bring the value. But I feel like with a lot of characters in the market, it's becoming harder for somebody like you're quality manufacturer. You want to align yourself with the right people, and then how do you vet that? How do you know that who you work with are credible people?
I mean, one of the things that you always look at is does that organization have values similar to yours? I think is super important, and they're aligned with taking care of the customer. So that's the big thing. We kind of pride ourselves with, at Garrison is, we do business through multiple channels, e-procurement, dealer, direct, and, we want to be available for the customer, however they want to purchase. So that's a big thing for us, but doing it with the right partners, people that have the same vision and values that we do.
Yeah. Do you think there's a chance for a manufacturer survive without online presence?
I don't think so in today's environment.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's kind of hard.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. Is there anything else, other learnings you have from, what has changed in the last 10 years with the private practices?
I think right now staffing is a big issue in practices. These practices are still as busy as they ever were, and they're trying to get it done with less staffing just because of the availability of it out there. So, that's a challenge, and getting the time or the opportunity to speak to a dentist or a dental assistant or whatever it's reduced. Because they have a busy day versus their schedule's pretty booked throughout the day and that. So yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge today out there.
Yeah, when we go to practices, I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, the first thing I try to look for is if I went to see a practice prior COVID, if I will see the familiar faces, right? And if I do, then I'm like, oh yes, okay, I remember Susan. Great, all right, so fantastic. And then, you know, if that person is not there anymore, then you get to know the new person, and then you try to help. And but it is a huge stress for a lot of doctors right now. And again, like learning the systems when they bring in the new people. And you mentioned that you guys do webinars. I wonder if you spend any time helping the new team members that join the practice to get like used to, if they haven't used Garrison products before, if now with the practice that they join, they have to use it, if there's anything that you guys do in that end.
Absolutely. So, you know, COVID obviously it's kind of changed the world out there, and we've kind of really raised our game into the educational technology end of the business, where, I mean, we produce 2 webinars a month and a lot of online resources where, you know, a click of a button, they can watch, you know, that procedure or how to use that product online. And we've had to do that because, you know, the diminish or the non-existence in 2020 and 2021 of trade shows, where you had an opportunity to meet your customers and show them, you know, face to face, or, you know, going into a dental practice, and that, you know, it's obviously changed in that. So having those online resources is huge. You know, so a customer can just, you know, go online, either go to our website or YouTube or whatever it may be, and see how to use the product.
Right,
so
right. That's fantastic. Well, I wanted to thank you for being, you know, so open today, let us in and see the pictures. We're super grateful for a chance to work. And when I talk to you and when I talk to Bonnie, I always say that we're in a position where we're trying to learn. Like we're trying to do things the right way. And every time that you and I connect and discuss things to work together and work with customers, it's always about how do we do best by the customer, and then we figure out our own processes internally and how do we get that work. So again, I wanted to say thank you, and then thanks for the opportunity, and continue working together.
absolutely appreciate it anytime, and yeah, let's continue to grow the business.
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome.
Thank you, Rich.
Yep.
Almost 18 minutes, right?
Oh,
17:30.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's
up
good.
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, short and sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we touched on the history of the products, and then how you guys operate. So
Cool.
Yeah.
yeah,
Was that your first podcast?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
You did good.
Yeah.
It takes like a minute to get
Yeah.
comfortable with it,
It
but then you're
is.
like, okay, like
You know, it's
this
funny,
is fine.
speaking to large groups, I have no problem doing it.
Yeah.
But, just,
But it's just
like,
the-
Yeah, but it's interesting. It's the opposite for most people.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like this is like 2 friends talking, but like big audience, terrifying.
Yeah, I found with the big audience, the best thing to do is meet a bunch of them before you,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
You-
a good trick.
and it kind of just, then it's like you're talking to your friends out there, and that. Then you got a visual too. So usually when you're talking to a large audience, so you know you can kind of see where you're at,
Yeah.
in the direction you're going with the
Yeah.
conversation or whatever. So, but yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.